Krishna, everybody, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hope you all well. We had 1 week break. So let us summarize what we did 2 weeks ago. If you remember, we're in the chapter 14 of the 7th canto, where Narada Muni is teaching Maharaj Yudhishthira ideal family life. And in the first section, of first 18 or 20 verses, duties of Grihastha are given. That he should be, if you remember, dedicated to Krishna, offer all his work to Krishna, and should also have time to hear about Krishna, develop attachment, earn only as much as required. He should be simple, without diplomacy. Then he has some daily duties, some occasional duties, some sacrifices to do. He should be avoiding greed, should not be greedy, claim proprietorship only to as much wealth as is required to maintain the body and the soul. He should have equal vision. Don't hanker for dharma, artha, and kama. Should be also maintaining others, including animals. Should be detached from one's wife as the greatest object of attachment. And he should worship demigods, humans, sages, forefathers, living entities, understanding that they're all part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And it's mentioned that in the last verse that he should be also feeding brahmanas, that Krishna enjoys offerings to sacrificial fire, but he's more satisfied when the food is offered to him through the mouths of qualified brahmanas, meaning Vaishnavas. Actually, this is the verse now, so I'll start reading it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayanam Namaskritum Naram Cheva Narottamam, Devin Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraya, Nashtaprayashva Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloki, Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Tasman Brahmana Devishu, Martyadishu, Yatar Hatha, Taisthai Kamair Yajasvainam, Kshetragyam Brahmana Manu. Translation. Therefore, my dear king. I didn't share the screen, sorry. You should stop me and tell me. I'm not aware. Yeah. Okay, the screen is here now. We gotta read the Sanskrit again. Tasmat Brahmana Devishu Matyadishu Yatarhata Taisthai Khamarya Jasvainam Kshetragyam Brahmana Manu. Translation. Therefore, my dear king, first offer prasad unto the brahmanas and the demigods, and after sumptuously feeding them, you may distribute prasad to other living entities according to your ability. In this way, you will be able to worship all living entities, or in other words, the supreme living entity within every living entity. Purport. To distribute prasad to all living entities, the process is that we must first offer prasad to the brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. For the demigods are represented by the brahmanas. In this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart, will be worshipped. This is the Vedic system of offering prasad. Whenever there is a ceremony for distribution of prasad, the prasad is offered first to the brahmanas, then to the children and old men, then to the women, and then to animals like dogs and domestic animals. When it is said that Narayan, the Supreme Being, is situated in everyone's heart, this does not mean that everyone has become Narayan or that a particular poor man has become Narayan. Such a conclusion is rejected herein. And Srila Vishwanath Thakur says, worship the Supreme Lord, knower of the field, by offering foods to the Brahmanas or Devatas, and after the Brahmanas to other humans. Another version has Brahmananam, the Lord whose mouth is the Brahmanas. So the importance of prasadam distribution is being stressed here. After every sacrifice, uh, prasad must be distributed, and there is an order in which it's done. So Brahmanas, who represent the demigods, and the Vaishnavas are given first as the most, exalted participants of the sacrifice, and then to everybody else in the order, children and old men, uh, and then women, and then animals like dogs and other domestic animals. And then only after that, the performer of the sacrifice, he is supposed to take prasad himself with his family members. But first, he's supposed to satisfy everybody else, starting with the Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. So this is the way to perform sacrifice, regardless whether it is a fire sacrifice or in this age of Kali specifically Harinam Yagya, chanting the holy names. So any sacrifice that we perform, these two elements should be there. First, the sacrifice, which could be with the fire and specific mantras, or if we don't know how to do it, or don't feel like doing it, but we want to do Harinam, we can just hold the kirtan, Sankirtan, and after that distribute prasadam. But prasadam in both cases, prasadam distribution must be there. Uh, what was that story from Mahabharata? After Rajasuya sacrifice, I think, when the sacrifice was completed, Maharaj Yudhishthira, he was, I don't remember exactly, but there was something there. The bell was there that was supposed to ring, but the bell didn't ring. Anybody remembers that? Because somebody, some Brahmana was not happy and didn't accept prasadam. So the Yudhishthira, he sent Maharaj Yudhishthira Maharaj sent Arjuna to look who was unhappy in the city, and then he found some old man. Was it from Mahabharata or was it Rupa Goswami or something? I think it was actually a story of Rupa Goswami who was doing something, or yeah, I don't remember. But the point was that only one person in that story, one Brahmana, he was unsatisfied, and the sacrifice was not complete because you displeased somebody. You didn't please all those people in the place where the sacrifice was performed. So this is the sign of successful sacrifice, that you please everybody in that locality where the sacrifice is being held. Okay, is there anybody else regarding this point? Prasadam distribution, we also have in ISKCON this food for life, mass prasadam distribution, which in India became quite industrialized. There are these huge commercial kitchens, and it's not only ISKCON who is doing it. The Ritviks are doing it, and some other organizations are doing it, and everybody is getting, huge donations, collecting huge donations and government grants on a pretext of prasadam distribution, and then it's been done in the schools and the hospitals and other institutions. Thousands and hundreds of thousands of plates of prasadam is being distributed.
I
But
would like,
due to
sorry,
yes,
Prabhu.
yes, Prabhu, please say.
Quick question, Prabhu. So, what is the benefit karmically, both for the individual distributing and the individual consuming, if prasadam is actually sold?
Oh, if prasadam is actually sold and not given for free,
Yeah.
well, if it's truly prasadam, if it's food tasted by Krishna, person who gets it, whether he pays for it or doesn't pay for it, he gets purified. Devotees also on the streets sometimes distribute cookies with the books and this, and they give for free, or sometimes they distribute for donation. It doesn't matter if the person, whether you charge or not, the effect of purificatory effect of prasadam will be there, but it has to be really prasadam, not just prasadam in name. Somebody once asked Srila Prabhupada's Godbrother Sridhar Maharaj, in this so-called mass prasadam distribution enterprises, that they even had it even in 80s and 90s when Sridhar Maharaj was around. So he was asking, can this really be, considered prasadam? It's cooked in a huge, industrial kitchen with with the help of, huge pots, and it's quite, mechanized, and it's not really like a traditional way of cooking with the love and meditation, and professionals are maybe doing it, and not all people who are present there are even devotees, some workers, some laborers. So he was questioning, is it really prasadam or not? And whether they at all offering it at the end. This is also questionable. And Srinamaji gave a interesting answer. He said it depends on a person on the top who is initiating this effort, who is leading everything. If he's a devotee with a sincere motivation to please the Lord, then even those people who are under him, who are down, and doing all these manual tasks, even if they are not, very exalted devotees or not devotees at all, still because of his sincerity, of that person on the top who is directing the whole distribution, then it will be prasadam. But if the motivation of the person on the top is not really proper, if he just wants to make money or his consciousness is not good, then it's questionable whether Krishna accepts that or not. So yeah, money or no money, I know, I remember Bhaktivedanta Manor of Parshuram Prabhu, he was doing quite huge not book, the prasadam distribution there, and selling it also in London City for small amounts of money. I think it was quite cheap, as I remember. And I consider that prasadam because he didn't really have some ulterior motives. I didn't notice that he was doing this to make money or anything. But still, you need to cover the costs. And of course, he was getting some donations and collecting boga that was, rejected by the supermarkets and all sorts of things. But if that person, if he's a sincere devotee, then it will be prasadam. and people will be benefited, regardless of this money exchange or not. What do you think, Prabhu? Shailesh, Prabhu?
Yeah, I agree with your thoughts and your conclusion there wholeheartedly in concept, but also I think we've traversed the organization, certainly here in parts of London, and I've seen it across many parts of Europe now and US as well. I'm not sure whether it's prevalent in India, where even things like Mahaprasad are now sold.
Oh,
And so you can't get access to Mahaprasad unless, i.e. morning sweets, etc., unless you buy it through the shop. Now, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, and I may be completely wrong here, is that one of Srila Prabhupada's central pillars was prasadam distribution to the masses. Rather than making it commercial, it should be done on the, I mean, particularly where, yes, I agree, voluntary contribution in order to sustain the temple's existence is absolutely right. But where restaurants are created, where charges are made quite substantially above and above what you might even pay at commercial restaurants, where it is almost a commercial organization, enterprise, one starts kind of having worries about that the whole situation where one of the Prabhupada central book distribution, prasadam distribution, it almost was the second thing that he would want to do after books, and as I distribute prasadam. But if that distribution is made commercial, almost on a basis of wanting to profit from it rather than to cover costs, then one has to question whether it's really still prasadam and what benefit, who is getting what benefit. I guess the person consuming it in good faith is consuming it as prasadam, so he must
yeah.
get purificatory purpose benefit. But does the people who are supposedly aiding the propagation of Krishna consciousness, if their motivation is changed, is the benefit there for them?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, bro. Yeah, if those persons who are initiating the whole effort, if their main motivation is business and money making, then the benefit is questionable. Spiritual benefit is quite questionable. It's a commercial enterprise, and we are distributing some food. How much is prasadam? Only Krishna can say, even if we kind of formally offer, but actually we are not offering, to please the Lord, and we are not offering, to benefit people, and we are selling it just to make money, then it's questionable. I quite agree. Yeah, in India also, actually there's some big temples, not ISKCON, like Tirupati and similar, where non-stop, huge prasadam distribution for free is going on. These big kitchens, it's for free. Somehow here in ISKCON Mahapur, we don't have it for free. Nothing is for free here. In Vrindavan, I noticed at least because somebody sponsored the prasadam, there is, breakfast and lunch, quite, cheap quality prasadam, but at least it's for free. Devotees can go and eat for free. And there are some other organizations, Gaudiya Mats, who are also doing in Radhe, Kunj, for example, in Vrindavan, they're also giving free lunch to whoever comes. This is actually proper, not charging money for it, because people are inspired. Rich people, they're inspired to give donation for prasadam distribution. So why we are supposed on top of it to charge more for it if you already got it covered? But mentality is such that even if you get the money, you still want to charge and make business out of it. Then it's really not good. Yeah, Mahaprasadams, meaning coming from directly from the altar, from the deities. Even here in Mayapur, it's difficult to get unless you pay. You generally, Radha Madhavas or Pachatat or Nrsimhadev's Mahaplate, you have to book in advance and pay, 2,000-3,000 rupees. Otherwise, you just don't get it. unless you have a pujari friend who can smuggle a little bit, small piece of something. Otherwise, no way you will get Mahaprasad. Even the Mangala Arati sweets, they have been sold after the Mangala Arati that was offered in the morning. And they've been sold. Yeah, you have to line up and buy it. But yeah, one can say because in India there are thousands and millions of people. If you give it free, then it will be gone in 10 seconds. So at least now we give those who can pay, which is again not the proper thing. Anyway, this is how it is. I notice around Govardhan when there is there are people doing regular Govardhan parikrama. Very often there are points of free prasadam or food distribution, whatever it is. Some people they just distribute for free without charging, because they have this concept that this is a pious activity to give to the pilgrims prasad for free, and they're sponsoring and arranging with somebody to cook. I hope they're offering it also to Giriraj, but they're giving it for free. So this is actually how the real prasadam is. You're completely correct. The real prasadam distribution is without any consideration of money. It should not be mixed with the charging. Okay, so
One
let's.
other small question, Prabhu, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Sorry, very quick one. Slightly related and slightly unrelated. Where you're forced in a situation, travel, etc., where you have to eat out, and obviously you have to eat sort of commercially prepared food, whether it's at restaurants or whatever, as vegetarian restaurants, of course. But in that instance, the person who, in good faith, has no issue, has no alternative. If you're purchasing that, does the fact that you've paid for the prasadam null the karmic pass down of the person who's prepared it? Because if you paid for it, I think the karma changes. I was told, but I'm not quite sure whether that's all true. And of course, you offer it in your mind. But is that does that minimize the karmic effect of?
I Prabhupada mentions that if you pay for it, you basically neutralize that karma that is coming in that food. I remember reading Prabhupada mentioning, so must be true. But of course, you're supposed also to offer at least in your mind, and then hopefully Krishna will accept seeing the situation. But yeah, this paying element is supposed to neutralize the karmic reaction, because those persons who cook food, they it's their karma, especially in grains, and you eat it, you get it. But if you pay, you're supposed to kind of neutralize that. Something is there definitely. But yeah, of course, if you take it for free, uh, well, if it's a prasadam, if it's really prasadam, then it should be transcendental and there should be no reaction. But if it's not really prasadam, then you'll get some karma from there. Uh, yeah, like that. It's very difficult to see this subtle, transfer of karma. But anyway, I mean, we if you really have no other choice, you have to eat whatever is available, provided it's vegetarian, of course, and then you hope that Krishna will accept seeing the situation, and that should be minimizing at least the karmic reaction. Although you might get also a little bit of it. It's just there. I remember, yeah, I remember once on one occasion. What was it? One devotee he offered he offered Mahaplate to Nrsimhadev in the name of a person or a relative or some friend. I forgot now the details, who committed suicide, which is quite, quite a sin. and and then he gave one of those fruits to my wife, who took it and brought it home and gave it to me. I don't remember even eating it, but I took that fruit without even knowing who gave it and for what. And that night, I had some really very strange dreams of strange dreams. And later the next morning, one friend who is a psychic, he called me and he told me, "Oh, I dreamt you and I was dreaming that you wanted to kill yourself. Are you all right? Is everything good?" Then I was really surprised, and then I went to my wife and asked her, "Who gave you that fruit yesterday?" And then she told me the story of the person who gave her and for which reason he gave her. Then I understood actually that I pick up little bit of that sinful karma of person who committed suicide just by accepting that piece of fruit that was offered to Lord Nrsimhadev on the altar. Still, the karmic exchange was there, that was reflected in my dream and a dream of my friend. So these are very subtle things that it's difficult always to be aware, but we should be aware that some transfer will be there. And especially, this Nrsimhadev pujas, when you're offering for certain purpose, which is material purpose. And generally people who have problems, they come to Lord Nrsimhadev and they offer and pray for relief of disease or whatever the problems they have. And then they distribute this, and if they distribute to many persons, then everybody gets a little bit of that karma that they have, that they want to get relieved of. But if they give everything to one person, then it will be more heavy. Then you're getting all his thing, all his load of karma. But if you distribute to many, then it's easier to digest, especially for heavy sins. You try to neutralizing it by offering it to Nrsimhadev and then distributing it. And then it could be a little dangerous to accept such so-called prasadam or offering. Even if it's prasadam, still some karma exchange will be there. All right, shall we continue? Shantirupa Mataji, would like to continue reading?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh,
Kuryad
sorry.
aparabhak.
Can you just please wait, because Shilpakarani Mataji has his hand raised. You want to speak, Shilpakarani Mataji?
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Sorry, I was a bit late. I just want to say I used to live in central London in Soho Street. And as far as I remember, they have very nice Govinda's restaurant. And Srila Prabhupada really want these restaurants to have a restaurant all over the world in all cities. It was one of his desire. And also they have like on reception, you have Mahaprasad directly from the altar from Shishirada London Ishvara. That's for free. And if you go up, they're serving breakfast for free, which contains about 13 preparations. And then they're serving lunch for students and for people who are on break, lunch break from the job. And in the evening, after they're closed Govindas, they're distributing leftovers to devotees, to people like that. So I think, kako se kaže, jednostrano. We should not look on one point, but there is many points in all things like these Govindas. They're using also Lakshmi to buy Boga for Radha Londonishvara, to maintain devotees and like that. So I find that if there is desire from the people on the top, like you mentioned, then we can add also spiritual and pure motivation in whatever we do in this material world, because Boga, it's quite expensive, especially in big cities like London. It's very, very expensive. So I think if there is a desire, we can also bring purity to even to the restaurants and other things. We can find a way to do like for Krishna pleasure and Srila Prabhupada pleasure if people are in the right consciousness. So I find this, it used to be like that in central London, in Govindas. And what to speak about Bhaktivedanta Manor, they're feeding, I don't know, 100,000 people for Janmashtami. And it's also, there have big congregation, but we also, we should not feel like, oh, it's their duty to do this, but we also have our duty, like Rupa Goswami said, we should give 50% from our income for spreading Krishna consciousness. But are we doing that? Like whatever grihast, are you businessman like that? So we should always look for a good intention and motivation in devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yeah, correct. It's not black and white. We are not. It's not that we are condemning that the restaurants are bad. No, the restaurants also distributing prasadam, but yeah, the motivation should not be just only and primarily money. It should be also prasadam distribution. And as you rightly mentioned, Soho Street and Manor, they used to distribute a lot of free prasadam. That was many years ago. I don't know what the situation now. Shailesh Prabhu, he's more up to date. He's there, so he can tell us is there still any free prasadam distribution? There must be. I I assume. Yeah. In any case, okay. Santarupa Mataji, please continue.
Okay. Kuryad apara paksheyam masi pade dvija shadam pitror yatha vittam tadbandhunam cha vittavan. Translation. A Brahmana who is sufficiently rich must offer oblations to the forefathers during the dark moon fortnight in the latter part of the month of Bhadra. Similarly, he should offer oblations to the relatives of the forefathers during the Mahalaya ceremonies in the month of Ashwina. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Praushtapade means in Bhadra month.
Okay, we can read more.
Okay. Ayane Vishuve Kuryad Vyatipate Dinakshaye Chandradityo Parage Cha Dvadashyam Shravadeshu Cha Tritiyayam Shukla Pakshe Navamyam Atha Kartike Chatasrishva Api Ashtakashu हेमन्ते शिशिरे तथा माघे च सितसप्तम्यां मघाराकां समागमे राकया चानुमत्या च मासर्क्षाणि युतानि अपि द्वादश्यामनुराधास्यां श्रवणस्तिस्र उत्तरा तिसृष्व एकादशी वासु जन्माक्ष श्रोण योग युग. Translation. One should perform the Shraddha ceremony of the Makara Sankranti, the day when the sun begins to move north, or on the Karkata Sankranti, the day when the sun begins to move south. One should also perform the ceremony on the Mesha Sankranti day and the Tula Sankranti day in the yoga named Vyatipata. On that day, in which 3 lunar tithis are conjoined, during an eclipse of either the moon or the sun on the 12th lunar day and in the Shravana Nakshatra. One should perform this ceremony on the Akshaya Tritiya day, on the 9th lunar day of the bright fortnight of the month of Kartika, on the 4 Ashtakas in the winter season and cool season, on the 7th lunar day of the conjunction of Magha Nakshatra and the full moon day, and on the days when the moon is completely full or not quite completely full, when these days are conjoined with the nakshatras from which the names of certain months are derived. One should also perform the Shraddha ceremony on the 12th lunar day when it is in conjunction with any of the nakshatras named Anuradha, Shravana, Uttara Falguni, Uttarashadha, or Uttara Bhadrapada. Again, one should perform this ceremony when the 11th lunar day is in conjunction with either Uttara Falguni, Uttara Ashada, or Uttara Bhadrapada. Finally, one should perform this ceremony on days conjoined with one's own birth star, Janma Nakshatra, or with Shravana Nakshatra. Purport. The word Ayana means path or going. The 6 months when the sun moves towards the north are called Uttarayana or the northern path, and the 6 months when it moves south are called Dakshinayana or the southern path. These are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 8.24-25. The first day when the sun begins to move north and enter the zodiacal sign of Capricorn is called Makara Sankranti, and the first day when the sun begins to move south and enter the sign of Cancer is called Karkata Sankranti. On these 2 days of the year, one should perform the Shraddha ceremony. Vishuva or Vishuva Sankranti means Mesha Sankranti, or the day on which the sun enters the sign Aries. Tula Sankranti is the day on which the sign enters the sign Libra. Both of these days occur only once within a year. The word yoga refers to a certain relationship between the sun and moon as they move in the sky. There are 27 different degrees of yoga, of which the 17th is called Vyatipata. On the day when this occurs, one should perform the Shraddha ceremony. A tithi or lunar day consists of the distance between the longitude of the sun and that of the moon. Sometimes a tithi is less than 24 hours. When it starts after sunrise on a certain day and ends before the sunrise of the following day, the previous tithi and the following tithi both touch the 24-hour day between the sunrises. This is called Sparsha, or a day touched by some portion of 3 tithis. Srila Jiva Goswami has given quotations from many Shastras stating that the Shraddha ceremony of oblations to the forefathers should not be performed on Ekadashi Tithi. When the Tithi of the death anniversary falls on the Ekadashi day, the Shraddha ceremony should be held not on Ekadashi but on the next day or Dwadashi. In the Brahma Vaivarta Puran, it is said, Ye kurvanti mahipala shraddham chaikadasi dine trayaste narakam yanti data bhokta cha preraka. If one performs the Shraddha ceremony of oblations to the forefathers on the Ekadashi Tithi, then the performer, the forefathers for whom the Shraddha is observed, and the Purohita or the family priest who encourages the ceremony all go to hell. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, one should perform the Shraddha rites on the solstices and equinoxes and before the summer solstice and before that on the Akshaya Tritiya. During the Hemanta and Shishira seasons, there are 4 Ashtamis of the dark fortnight. On those days, one should perform shraddhas. Each month is named after a constellation. When the full moon or a slightly less joins the constellation during the month named after it, one should perform shraddha rites. Amarakosha says that Anumati means one phase less than a full moon, and Raka means a full moon. One should perform the Shraddhas on Dwadashi conjoined with Anuradha, Shravana, Uttara Falguni, Uttara Ashada, and Uttara Bhadrapada, or when the latter three conjoin, and Ekadashi. One should not combine this with Ekadashi fast, since Shraddha rites are forbidden on fast days. Brahma Vaivarta Puran says, Ye kurvanti mahipala shraddhan chaikadasi dine trayaste narakam yanti data bhokta preraka. Those who perform Shraddha rites on the Ekadashi day, the giver of food, the receiver of food, and the person who orders the rites go to hell. Since one cannot perform the offerings to the Pitris on fast days, one should do that on the next day. According to Padma Puran, Ekadashyantu praptayam mata pitronmrite ahani dvadashyam tat pradatavyam nopavasa dine kvachit. If one's mother or father dies on Ekadashi, one should offer rites on the Dwadashi, not on the fast day. In the Pushkara Khanda, it is said, Ekadashyam yada Rama Shraddham naimittikam bhavet tad dinam tu paritrajya dvadashyam Shraddham acharet. O Ram, when Shraddhas occur on the Ekadashi, one should reject that day and perform them on the Dwadashi. When one's birth constellation or Shravana constellation have special astrological combinations, yogas, one should perform this rite. So this verse is totally technical and uh, just the which day to offer and which day not to offer of the Shraddhas. So everything is given in our Shastras, which day we should offer Shraddha or the final rites of the person who has left a body, and which day not to offer. So everything is very clear in the Shastras, and we should follow the Shastras, which Prabhupada is presenting to us.
Yes, thank you. But this is actually all these Shraddha rituals and procedures described here that Narada Muni describing and Prabhupada and Vishnu Thakur commenting are part of Varnashrama Dharma. That's why it's so technical, and it's part of Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. And because it's so technical and elaborate, if you make a small mistake, you offer it on a Kadashi Titi, you didn't know that you were not supposed to offer on a Kadashi, or you didn't know it was a Kadashi, the result is opposite. You go to hell. Well, you might not just go to hell for that, but that you'll incur sinful reaction, that equals to going to hell. And later you might, counteract it by doing something else, pious. So it's very complicated actually to follow this karma kanda procedures and rites for Shraddha and other ceremonies. That's why, as the Vaishnavas, we are not actually obliged to follow it. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually he advised his disciples to do it in a Vaishnava way. Basically, do Harinam Sankirtan for the benefit of the person, who passed away for Shraddha, and then distribute prasadam for his benefit to all assembled Vaishnavas. And you can also maybe put some, prasad in front of the photo of deceased person. This is the way how we do it. Otherwise, it's very complicated, and you need to take care of the tithis and nakshatras and yogas, and it's you really need an astrologer. You need purohit who knows what he's doing. You need the right ingredients, and still, if you do your best and by some mistake, by some chance, you make a small mistake, you lose everything and you get a negative result, like going to hell. So why should we, endeavor going that karma kanda varnashrama path if it's much easier and safer just to have sankirtan yagya and distribute prasadam, and the benefit will be same or even greater for deceased person or for whatever ritual we are doing it. It's not only for Shraddha, for Griha Pravesha, for moving to the house. Now when people make new house, again, there is elaborate yagya and so many rituals are there. But actually one can just hold the Sankirtan yagya, invite some devotees, have a Sankirtan, Kirtan, and then distribute prasad after that. And that would be equally powerful and enough. Or for any other, ritual, for name giving ceremony, ear piercing ceremony, or whatever samskaras are there that are prescribed for grihastas and the grihastas are doing. If we don't have really the knowledge how to do it properly, or we have no faith in a purohit, or we cannot arrange for all of the ingredients, the safest way to do it is just hold Sankirtan Yagya and distribute prasadam. That covers everything, because immediately all the demigods will be pleased, and Krishna will be pleased, and you're feeding the Brahmanas, you're feeding the Vaishnavas, Vishnu will automatically be pleased. Even for the such complicated, ceremonies as deity installation in a temple, we are doing now also very elaborate, pujas. And Prabhupada did it also during the Krishna Bharam installation in Vrindavan. But he remarked, he made a point, we are doing this only to satisfy the smarta brahmanas in Vrindavan. Otherwise, they will not take us seriously. Otherwise, if it was only up to us, we would just hold Sankirtan and distribute prasadam. And that would be as good as all these special rituals for installation. But because of them, just to give them impression that we are also bona fide sampradaya, we are doing all these rituals. But actually Sankirtan is enough, and more than enough in most of the cases. And you cannot make mistake. You cannot go to hell by holding Sankirtan and distributing prasadam. While doing all these rituals, complicated rituals, technical rituals, if you make a small mistake, you lose everything or get a negative result. So what is better? Okay. If nobody has anything on this.
Something I read, and I've heard in a couple of lectures. I think it was a Srila Prabhupada lecture many years ago. He clarifies also that Ekadashis, and not just Ekadashis, but any Vishnu Tattva, appearance days, etc. But in particular Ekadashis, the stress was that nothing apart from our consciousness as a satisfaction for Krishna should be there. The whole purpose of these days is that we should be focused entirely on that. So on those days, forgetting just Shraddha, but nothing else should be done or celebrated which could be for our purpose or our benefits, i.e. weddings and birthday parties and whatever else it is that we end up doing. Nothing should be done that is not satisfying Krishna directly for his benefit. I think that was the gist of what I heard.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. The Ekadashi is called Harivasara day because it's meant for the satisfaction of Lord Hari. And actually, materially speaking, it's inauspicious day. That's why all these rituals, karma kanda procedures, and ceremonies that are all material should not be done on that day, because you will not get the result. You will get the opposite result, negative result. But if you do devotional service to Krishna on that day, then it's perfect utilization of otherwise materially inauspicious day. So that materially inauspicious day is very auspicious if you do spiritual activities. So it's spiritually auspicious. That's why no material activities, including karma kanda rituals and pious ceremonies and sanskaras, should not be done on that day. This is the reason. It's meant only for Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure, and for your spiritual upliftment. Okay, so let us
Hare
continue
Krishna.
reading.
I just
Hare
want to
Krishna.
say that
Yeah.
on the other hand, we have an example of Lord Chaitanya who went to Gaya to do Shraddha ceremony. So here I'm coming from Serbia. We have a great respect for forefathers, and especially because they're warriors and they're protecting the land and the country and the children's and etc. So in one way, I understand. In one way, we have an example of Lord Chaitanya, who personally went to do Shraddha ceremony. And on the other hand, I think we should have some respect because of our ancestors. We are here. So they left for us something, maybe something bad, but also something good. And I think we should traditionally show respect, not too much, but I think it's very important to respect our forefathers and have this culture until we come to the level of pure devotional service. And I can notice this date, Maha Sankirti. It's in January, 14th of January, when the sun entered the Capricorn. Seems like it's very, very important day. I don't know astrologically why, specifically when the sun entered the Capricorn, but I also think Maha Kumbha Mela was holding on this date, and so it seems like very important date even in the Vedic culture. And also my son, Kanteya, he was born on Ekadashi. Some astrologers said it's not auspicious. Some devotees said it's very auspicious. So we always have different opinions about everything. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah, this Makar Sankranti is the day where the sun starts the northern part, Uttarayana begins. And this is from this day, it's auspicious to leave the body also. The Bhishma, for example, lying on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was waiting for Uttarayana because the yogi is supposed to leave the body when the sun goes to the northern part. And then if he leaves the body in that part of the year, Uttarayana, then he goes up. Otherwise, if he leaves during Dakshinayana, when the sun is in the southern part, then his destination will not be so auspicious. So yeah, it's basically the marking the 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 border between sun spot on the south and of the zodiac and sun spot on the north of the zodiac. It's a dividing date. Makar Sankranti, and then Tula Sankranti on the opposite, when the sun again starts the southern part, as Prabhupada explains. Regarding Lord Chaitanya doing Shraddha, he was living in a traditional Hindu society, and that time he was not showing he was not showing his lila as devotee of the Lord. He was just a scholar, Nimai Pandit, and he followed the customs and rules of the land that he lived, and everybody more or less was doing Shraddha. But do we really think that Jagannath Mishra needed Shraddha to be delivered from a hell, Lord Chaitanya's father? Do we really think that Lord Chaitanya, he went, to Gaya to benefit his father? No, he was just going through the custom as everybody else in the society was doing it. But his main intention of going to Gaya was meeting Ishwarapuri, his guru, and his transformation into devotee of the Lord. Shraddha was just, external excuse. On the pretext of Shraddha, he went to Gaya. So we cannot really take it as example that we should all now be going to Gaya and do it. I have a friend, who is a devotee and who had parents who were also devotees who passed away. And then after some years after they passed away, he didn't, he did something. I don't know what exactly he did for them, but then he met some astrologer and he looked in the chart. He said, "Oh, your parents, they might be, suffering. You didn't do proper Shraddha in Gaya, this, that." So he convinced him to pay a big amount of money to do remotely Shraddha in Gaya. uh, and then I asked, how much money was that, and then I told him, oh, he charged you 20 times more than actually it costs. It costs in Gaya. If you go to Gaya, any pandit there will do it for 500 rupees. He charges you 20,000 rupees for Shraddha. So it's again a money making business, this Shraddha in Gaya. So I'm not saying we don't do Shraddha, we do it, but we do it in a Vaishnava way. We don't need really to do it on this specific, Vedic karma kanda way in Gaya or wherever. We do it by holding Sankirtan for the benefit of the person who passed away and distributing prasadam on the behalf of that person, pleasing the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Then that person will be elevated. But my friends' parents, they were devotees already, and there was no question of them being in hell or going anywhere. They were, they were doing, bhakti, devotional service. So there was no need actually to do any shraddha for them. They were sadhakas. But still somehow this astrologer confused my friend's mind. So he was thinking, oh, I need to do shraddha for my parents. Anyway, he did it. But yeah, I'm not sure what was the result of that Shraddha. But I'm sure that his
Yes,
parents,
thank
even
you.
before, after the Shraddha, they were in better position than we are. Yes, Matt, you want to say something?
No, just thank you for explanation.
Yeah, so we can do Shraddha, no problem, but just do it in a simple way. But if you want a complicated karma kanda way, you can do that also. But I'm saying that Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, he was disappointed actually when one of his disciples did it in that karma kanda way, following all the Hindu rules and regulations, because his family pressurized him so much that they have to do it as there was the custom in the society, and he was actually disappointed with him. He wanted him to do it in a Vaishnava way, and not to be so dependent on the opinion of the society, which are mostly smarter Brahmanas, and they're making also business of this Shraddha. This is how they earn money, smarter Brahmanas and pandas and pandits. Okay. So let's go. Dhanashri Mata, you would like to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Taite Shriyasya Kala, Ninya Shriyo Vivardana, Kuryat Sarvanman Nitesu, Shriyo Mogam Tad Ayusaha. Translation: all of these seasonal times are considered extremely auspicious for humanity. At such times, one should perform all auspicious activities, Therefore, by such activities, a human being attains success in his short duration of life. Purport. When one comes to the human form of life through natural evolution, one must take the responsibility for further progress. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.25, Yanti Deva Vrata Devam. One who worships the demigods can be promoted to their planets. Yet Yanti Mad Yayano Yayino Pimam. And if one practices devotional service to the Lord, he goes back home, back to Godhead. In the human form of life, therefore, one is meant to act auspiciously in order to return home back to Godhead. Devotional service, however, does not depend on material conditions. Aituki apratihata. Of course, for those who are engaged in fruitive activities on the material platform, the times and seasons mentioned above are extremely congenial. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, performing acts of Dharma, not just Shraddha, rites, at these times produces auspicious effects. One should perform auspicious effects. One should perform auspicious acts at these times, and the latter one will have unfailing success. Amogham in one's life. Okay, the text explains how to. Oh, I lost the thread. How to use the sacrifice better. How to
how to perform these samskaras and duties at certain times, auspicious times.
Okay, so it is the way to count with sacrifices is explained here. How to do it. The text before it was telling us how to avoid mistakes, but in this present text we are explain how to use the Shraddha, the sacrifice, how to live in harmony with this practice. This is what I understood, Prabhu.
Yes, I see. But see, the point here is that there is a difference between these karma kanda fruitive activities. This is what Narada Muni is explaining now is 100% fruitive activities, karma kanda. But devotional service, Prabhupada says here, does not depend on material conditions. Karma kanda, it depends. That's why you need to follow all these rules and regulations to perform it, Shraddha and other ceremonies at auspicious times to get the result. If you don't get the result. But devotional service, bhakti, does not depend on it. You can perform it anytime, under any conditions. There are no hard and fast rules. Bhakti is always auspicious. You cannot say, oh, only on Makar Sankranti I can chant Hare Krishna. No, Hare Krishna you can chant on any day, even on inauspicious Ekadashi day, and it will be even more auspicious than on Makar Sankranti. So those who are engaged in fruitive activities, Prabhupada says here, engage in fruitive activities. So this is on the material platform. This is a karma kanda that is described in this section. The times and the seasons mentioned above are extremely congenial. Yeah, they are auspicious. But if you don't follow these times and seasons, then it's not auspicious. So it's very complicated and very technical. That's why we as devotees advise to have faith in bhakti, in devotional service, not faith in a complicated karma kanda rituals and rules and regulations. But sometimes devotees, they lack actually faith in pure bhakti. They think, oh, if I miss on this shraddha or this ritual or that and that ceremony or that sanskara, I'll miss it. Because bhakti is just, it's not enough. It's just chanting Hare Krishna. What is that?
I
So
also want to
I better do it. I better do all these rituals properly as described in the Vedas, in the Karma Kanda sections. And then just in case there is some more benefit there. But this shows lack of faith in pure devotional service. Yeah.
I wanted to mention something
Yes.
that
Yes.
in this text also it is mentioned how important the human form of life is how important the human form of life is. So in connection with sacrifice and everything, we are it's so precious. We better not lose that opportunity. Otherwise, it would be very, very difficult to have again a human form. This is also
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Dad. This is a nice point. See, if we perform all these rituals, basically we go to the Swarga or higher planetary system, Yanti Deva Vrata Deva Yanti Madhyajino Pimam. So if we perform all these karma kanda rituals perfectly, then we are elevated to higher planetary systems, but we don't go back to Godhead. But if we practice bhakti, exclusive bhakti, ahaitukya pratihata, then we go back to Godhead, we go to Krishna. Otherwise, with the karma kanda, we are just elevated to Swarga to enjoy the fruits of our perfect execution of yagyas and vratas. But we advised not to do it. We advised to focus exclusively on devotional service.
Oh, I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
In you just mentioned that there should be no in bhakti there should be no hindrance of any of these material elements, but we're still advised sometimes at temple that if you have had a death directly in the home, that you're effectively rendered unclean for whatever it is, 7-10 days, and you can't do service. Is that not material consciousness?
Oh, are we advised the manner they advise like this? If somebody dies at your home, that you should not come and do service? They say like this?
You can't do pujari service.
Hmm.
Now, we were advised also, we have installed deities in the house. When my father passed away, they said, you can't. I said, well, my deities are there. Yes, I've lost my father, but I can't ignore my deities, and I can't not feed them. I can't not put them to sleep. I can't not do service to them. And the pujari was telling us, well, you shouldn't really, but if that's so. But we carried on because our consciousness was that how can we stop serving our lordships for what is essentially a material
Consideration.
it's spiritually we know where the soul but I don't know whether I was right or wrong, but I'm just asking your
You're 100% right, Prabhu. For example, during the solar eclipse, when Prabhupada was here, most of the temples in Vrindavan, they were just closing the temples and stopping the service, stopping everything, because the solar eclipse is very inauspicious, so that consciousness prevailed of material inauspiciousness. So we're dropping devotional service because it's inauspicious. But Prabhupada's thinking was completely different. He said the deity service should not be stopped under any conditions, and he instructed the devotees to continue the worship as normal, not to close the temple, not to do. Maybe later they start closing for public, just to follow the custom, that not to be criticized. But otherwise, these are material considerations, and bhakti is a higher consideration. All these karma kanda rituals, rules, and regulations, they are on material platform. And comparing to devotional service, for us who are Vaishnavas, they should be inferior rules and regulations. If we have a higher consideration of something that is auspicious for devotional service, then we neglect these lower rules. So it depends what you put your faith in. If you have more faith in Karma Kanda, then of course you strictly follow all these Karma Kanda rules and regulations. But if you have more faith in Bhakti, which all we should have as Vaishnavas, then we see what is favorable for Bhakti or devotional service, not what is materially is auspicious or inauspicious. For example, when they asked Prabhupada about the ladies, if they are unclean, if they have a period, they are unclean, should they go to altar or not? Prabhupada said it's generally not done, but the deity service must not be stopped. So if there is nobody else and only Lady Pujari is there, then he should do it because the main consideration was not the cleanliness. As far as possible, we follow that rule, which is kind of smarter rule. But main consideration is that the service to the deity is pleased. So we can follow these rules and regulations as long as they do not conflict rules and regulations of devotional service. If they don't obstruct our devotional service, if they, as long as they are favorable for our devotional service. Cleanliness is definitely favorable for deity worship, so we should follow as much as possible. So like that. So it depends on what kind of conceptions we have. Sometimes devotees also tend to have some more smarter conceptions, but yeah, real proper understanding is required to make a clear line in a situations when it could be like this or like that, what to follow exactly, and it requires some devotional intelligence, not only smart intelligence, but some devotional bhakti intelligence, and knowing to distinguish what is higher, what is priority for Vaishnavas. Is it okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you for that. It brings some calm to my mind. Because I was being criticized quite a lot for continuing service, and I said, look, if the consideration is that I go to hell because I'm doing something that is against a Vedic injunction, and I don't mind, but I'd rather be engaged in the service of my deities and go to hell than to consider that I'm not clean and therefore I'm not going to do it for my own protection and ignoring the deities. I just thought that logic seemed to make sense from a Gaudiya Vaishnava teachings of everything we've read. So I just used my gut
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
that I thought was right. But yeah, it was
In my
against
opinion,
it
in my
was against the
opinion,
previous advice.
in my opinion, you did it correctly, 100%. Okay, let us continue. Gunnar Prabhu, would like to read?
Yes, Prabhu. येषु स्नानं जपो होमो व्रतं देव द्विजाक्षणं पितृदेव नरो भूतेभ्यो यद्दत्तं तद्दियनस्वरम्. Translation. During these periods of seasonal change, if one bathes in the Ganges, in the Yamuna, or in another sacred place, if one chants, offers fire sacrifices, or executes vows, or if one worships the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the forefathers, the demigods, and the living entities in general, whatever he gives in charity yields a permanently beneficial result.
One more.
Samskara kalo jayaya apatyasyatmanastata preta samstha mrutahascha karmani Abhyudaye Nrupa. Translation. O King Yudhishthira, at the time prescribed for reformatory ritualistic ceremonies for one's self, one's wife, or one's children, or during funeral ceremonies and annual death ceremonies, one must perform the auspicious ceremonies mentioned above in order to flourish in fruitive activities. Purport. The Vedas recommend many ritualistic ceremonies to be performed with one's wife on the birthdays of one's children or during funeral ceremonies. And there are also personal reformatory methods like initiation. These must be observed according to time and circumstances and the directions of the Shastra. Bhagavad Gita strongly recommends Jnatva Shastra Vidanoktam. Everything must be performed as indicated in the Shastras. For Kali Yuga, the Shastras enjoin that Sankirtana Yajna be performed always. Kirtanaya Sada Hari. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 17.31. All the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Shastras must be preceded and followed by Sankirtana. This is the recommendation of Srila Jiva Goswami. Vishwanath Chakravarti comments, at the time of samskaras for the wife such as Pumsavana, or for the children such as Jatakarma, or for oneself such as initiation into sacrifice, at the time of burning the body, Preta Samsa, and early Sraddhas, there will be great benefit by using those auspicious times. So though it is recommended for karma kanda activities, for Kali Yuga's year, Prabhupada is mentioning that it should be preceded and succeeded by Sankirtan Yajna. So in that way we get spiritual upliftment. So
Yeah, so all these procedures are for those who want to flourish, as Prabhupada says, in fruitive activities. If you want materially to prosper, then you need to follow these auspicious ceremonies and auspicious times, and it can get quite complicated. You need to know these auspicious tithis. You need somebody to calculate it for you. You need an astrologer. Then you need those who will perform. It requires, quite some knowledge to perform these ceremonies properly. And of course, Narada Muni is talking to Maharaj Yudhishthira not because Maharaj Yudhishthira he needs it, but because he's a king, emperor of the whole world, and general population they need it. They're not, automatically devotees, and they need to follow Varnashrama Dharma. So for them, this karma kanda path is prescribed for the general citizens in a country who are not devotees. But if somebody is already a Vaishnava devotee, that means he accepted a higher part. Then for him, there is no need to go into these technical ceremonies. So he can just perform Sankirtan Yagya, everything will be accomplished. But we should not take excuse, I'm a devotee, and then do nothing actually, do not really perform devotional service. Uh, then we are missing on both on a, on a karma kanda and the bhakti. We should actually, if we are devotees, we should perform seriously devotional service, especially Sankirtan Yagya. Then we are fulfilling all other obligations. All right, so we have a little more time. Silpakarani Mati, you would like to read?
Okay. Text 27 to 28. Atadesham pravakshyami dharmadishreya avaham savai punyatamo deshach satpatram yatra labhyate bimbam bhagavato yatra sarvametat characharam Yatra Hra Brahmana Kulam Tapovidya Dayanvitam. Purport. Translation, sorry. Narada Muni continued. Now I shall describe the places where religious performance may be well executed. Any place where a Vaishnava is available is an excellent place for all auspicious activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the support of this entire cosmic manifestation, with all its moving and non-moving living entities. And the temple where the deity of the Lord is installed is the most secret place. Furthermore, places where learned brahmanas observe Vedic principles by means of austerity, education, and mercy are also most auspicious and secret. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, it is indicated that a Vaishnava temple where the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is worshipped, and where Vaishnavas are engaged in the service of the Lord, is the best secret place for performing any religious ceremonies. At the present day, especially in big cities, people live in small apartments and are not able to establish a deity or the temple. Under the circumstances, therefore, the centers and temples being established by the expanding Krishna consciousness movement are the best sacred places for performing religious ceremonies. Although people in general are no longer interested in religious ceremonies or deity worship, the Krishna consciousness movement gives everyone the chance to advance in spiritual life by becoming Krishna conscious. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Sat Patram means the Vaishnava who is equal to the form of the Lord, who is universe of moving and non-moving beings. Do I need to say something? Or?
Yeah, if you want to summarize quickly or your thoughts on it.
Yeah. So I have experience of both. I have experience and realization where the deities are installed. Like I used to live in central London and I was serving Radha Gokulananda and Radha Londonishvara. And actually now I'm living in Serbia. We don't have temple. We don't have installed yatra deities. Devotees have some deities at home, so we don't have official temple. But that gives us a chance to put emphasis on the Vaishnavas more, who are visiting and preaching, and to more appreciate the association of the Vaishnavas. Like it is said here that wherever it's present learned brahmanas who perform austerity, education, and mercy, that's also auspicious and sacred place. And we know how Srila Prabhupada actually started. He started with Nama Sankirtana. Then there was a picture of Panchatattva, that was beginning. Then Mother Malati find a small Jagannath in one shop, and she didn't even know, and she showed to Srila Prabhupada, and there installed a small Jagannath, and that was like first deity worship in ISKCON. And then later on, Srila Prabhupada installed like Shishi Radha Londonishvara were first deities in Europe installed by Srila Prabhupada. And deity worship is one of the very important part of devotional service. But Srila Prabhupada here said people are in general no longer interested in religious ceremonies or deity worship. Unfortunately, sometimes we see now, I saw the post from Ireland. There have beautiful deities of Shri Shri Radha Govinda in a small island, but they don't have sufficient pujaris, and also in some places in America like that. So we should really try not to put the standards and worship down, but at least to keep the standard what Srila Prabhupada give to us, or to even make maybe some higher standard, or try to surrender more. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, thank you. Yeah, we need more pujaris. So till now it was mostly in Europe and America, especially in America, they were imported from India because India had so many devotees. And if you look at the ISKCON temples in America now, they're mostly, populated by Indian congregation and devotees living there, pujaris. Somehow the locals are not very much interested, or maybe we are not focusing on locals, and that's why we have to import the devotees from India. In any case, somehow it goes on. The point is that wherever the Vaishnava or the deity is present, that place becomes a holy place. So we can say, oh, wherever I am, this is a holy place. I'm a Vaishnava. But actually, the Dham, it's true. Where the Vaishnava and the Dham is present, it becomes sacred. But still, there is a special sort of sacredness in the eternal dance of the Lord, like Vrindavan Dham, Sri Mayapur Dham, Jagannath Puri Dham, and like that. There is something more than just a temple. It's a it's a place with many temples and thousands of deities. Plus, it's an appearance place of the Lord. So there is a special power in such dham, holy dham. Okay, we have, I think, just a few more minutes. Maybe Shailesh Prabhu, you'd like to read? I can read Sanskrit for you.
Yes, Prabhu. Just a quick word on what you just said. When we do the TOVP tour in Europe, we noticed that there was some beautiful temples, but a lot of them were struggling with looking after the deities, just because of the size of the congregation, not fallen, not enough pujaris. It was, some centers were really struggling. Some are doing very well, but many were struggling, and I guess true, that must also be true in many parts of America, I guess, but I don't know America so well. So it was quite heartbreaking to see standards of the deities, marble deities, Radha Krishna deities, and standards having to be lowered just because there aren't enough pujaris.
Yes, sad situation. Thank you for the observation. Places like New Mayapur and I guess so many others you've seen struggling.
I had a nice quote that I thought I'd repeat. Bhakti Rasamrita Swami said it once, that don't try to chant, don't try and put off your chanting to a pure sacred location. Instead, chant purely to make the location you are at sacred.
Very nice.
I thought it was quite a deep, sort of observation, isn't it? I mean, if you chant purely, then wherever you are, it becomes purified. It was great.
Yes, otherwise if we wait to be in the holy place, we can wait a long time to chant purely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us just read one more verse and then we'll stop. Yatra yatra harirarcha Sadesha Shreya Sampadam Yatra Gangadhayo Nadya Puraneshu Chavishruta.
Translation. Auspicious indeed are the places where there is a temple of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in which he is duly worshipped, and also the places where there flow the celebrated sacred rivers mentioned in the Puranas, the supplementary Vedic literatures. Anything spiritual done there is certainly very effective. Purport. There are many atheists who oppose the worship of the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the temple. In this verse, however, it is authoritatively stated that any place where the deity is worshipped is transcendental. It does not belong to the material world. It is also said that the forest is in the mode of goodness, and therefore those who want to cultivate spiritual life are advised to go to the forest. Vanam gato yad dharim asratyata. But one should not go to the forest simply to live like a monkey. Monkeys and other ferocious animals also live in the forest, but a person who goes to the forest for spiritual culture must accept the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as shelter. Vanam gato yad dharim asriyata. One should not be satisfied simply to go to the forest. One must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, therefore, since it is impossible to go to the forest for spiritual culture, one is recommended to live in the temple community as a devotee, regularly worship the deity, follow the regulative principles, and thus make the place like Vaikuntha. The forest may be in goodness, the cities and villages in passion, and the brothels, hotels, and restaurants in ignorance. But when one lives in the temple community, he lives in Vaikuntha. Therefore, it is said here, Shreyasyam Padam, it is the best, most auspicious place. In many places throughout the world, we are constructing communities to give shelter to devotees and worship the deity in the temple. The deity cannot be worshipped except by devotees. Temple worshippers who fail to give importance to the devotees are third class. They are Kanishta Adhikaris, in the lower stage of spiritual life. As it is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Archayam eva haraye pujamya shradaya ye hate natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sa bhakta prakrita smrita.
a person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not know how to behave towards devotees or people in general is called a prakrita bhakta or kanishta adhikari. Therefore, in the temple there must be the deity of the Lord, and the Lord should be worshipped by the devotees. This combination of the devotees and the deity create a first-class transcendental place. Aside from this, if a grihastha devotee worships the Saligram Shila or the form of the deity at home, his home also becomes a very great place. It is therefore customary for members of the three higher classes, namely the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, to worship the Saligram Shila, or a small deity of Radha Krishna or Sitaram in each and every home. This made everything auspicious. But now, they have given up the deity worship. Men have become modernized and are consequently indulging in all sorts of sinful activities, and therefore they are extremely unhappy. According to Vedic civilization, therefore, the holy places of pilgrimage are considered most sacred, and still there are hundreds and thousands of holy places like Jagannath Puri, Vrindavan, Haridwar, Rameshwara, Prayag, and Mathura. India is a place of worship or for cultivating spiritual life. The Krishna consciousness movement invites everyone from all over the world, without discrimination as to caste or creed, to come to the centers and to cultivate spiritual life perfectly. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. The devotees of the Lord are considered superior to the form of the Lord. Thus, it is said, Mat Bhakta Pujya Yadhika. The worship of the devotee is superior to my worship. Srimad Bhagavatam 11, 19, 21.
Again, same verse, Arche Mevahare Pujim Yashadaye Hati Natad Bhakteshu Chanyeshu Sabhakta Prakrita Smrita.
A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not know how to behave towards the devotees or the people in general is called a Kanishta Adhikari. Archer refers to the deity or Shaligram, the fixed form of those such as Jagannath in places such as Orisha. So here, deity worship and worship of the deity by devotees and taking the devotees seriously in terms of who they are is all considered to be an integral part of bhakti and devotion. Deity worship without respected devotees is of no value, and such individuals are Kanishta Adhikaris. Where worship is conducted, that place is considered sanctified dham without any discrimination. And in the modern day, where one can't go to the forest, Prabhupada has advised that building centers in which worship of the deity and sangha of devotees and collective worship of the devotees along with devotees, respective devotees, is considered equally potent to going to a mode of goodness place like the forest. And these places in the cities are also dhams, Vaikuntha, and considered holy for us to progress our bhakti in. I think that's broadly the summary of that, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Here, just a small point that Prabhu was writing this in 70s, basically calling people to come to live in the temple, which was the actually prevalent practice in 70s and maybe in 80s. But then as ISKCON was getting older, somehow temples were getting more and more empty, and the congregation was growing. So we became a more or less congregational movement with a few devotees now living, a very small percentage of total number of ISKCON devotees are living in the temples. Yeah, so this is the history, and this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur also. When he was preaching in Bengal, it was mostly Namahata, and not big temples, not present, but still it was spreading because everybody made his home a temple, and he was inviting others, and they had Namahatas, and this is how it all worked. Even in Middle East, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and all these places, they don't really have a temple, but they have thousands of devotees, and they have organized, huge programs, huge festivals, very strong congregations. So many preachers are going there. So it's very well, it's making great progress even without established temples. And there are less politics also. As soon as you establish the temple, there is always question who will control it, and so that maybe this is one of the advantages of these yatras in the Middle East. Okay, anybody has anything on this? Otherwise, we can stop here.
Hare Krishna, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Because seems like we have holy tirthas only in India. And how about the holy places of other religion? If there is like a monastery, are serious priests and prayers and worshipping of the Lord. I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur also mentioned that, oh, I see my Lord in the different form, and the people are worshipping my Lord, but not on the different ways. So I don't know. Can we say that also are this also a place of pilgrimage, or it's only in connection with Lord Krishna?
Well, these other places, they're also holy places, especially for the members of that religion. But if the serious practitioners of that religion are there, they spiritualize the place with their own practice. I have a devotee friend who was going with another devotee friend. They were going to Greece, Mount Athos, where there are some serious Orthodox monks living there on an island, practicing prayers. Somehow, for my friend, it was very, very interesting and he felt inspired. So, definitely, we can find inspiration wherever there is some serious commitment to God and spiritual practice, and we can derive some inspiration and try to apply it in our own practice. I remember when I was actually back to that manner many years ago, somebody gave me a book, The Way of Pilgrim. It was a Christian book about anonymous pilgrim in a 19th century Russia, where he basically gives his biography describing his travel and search for God and the search for continuous unceasing prayer that was earnest desire of his heart. So he was going and looking for one holy man, another holy man, somebody teaching how to pray without stopping, because in the Bible he read that he should pray without ceasing. And when I was reading that book, I felt very, very actually inspired in my own practice. So it's not that I start chanting Jesus prayer, but by improve my chanting of Hare Krishna and increase the quantity and quality just by being inspired by that book. So yes, definitely we can find inspiration also in other traditions if there are really serious practitioners. But we want to find inspiration in our own practice to increase our own practice. We don't want to now become Christian or Muslim by going to Mecca. Then it's losing the point. We should feel encouraged in our own sadhana. So we should remain Krishna Bhakta. This is the point. Okay,
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you all very much. So next Wednesday, we hope to continue. This was just exemptionally Thursday because yesterday I couldn't. Otherwise, we keep Wednesday at 5 p.m. So thank you all very much. Vancha kalpatrubhasya kripa sindhuvaiva chipatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.